One Piece chapter 984. Now, there is a lot to unpack from this chapter. There was a lot going on in this chapter from all sides, which is also very well paced because you got something of relevance in every scene and also a lot of progression in terms of moving forward. This chapter definitely took a lot more steps towards the war or the imminent encounter of Kaido. This is probably going to take place very soon, and it's building up really well. The tension is definitely brewing, especially in the scene with Momonosuke on the execution platform. But before we go more in depth, let's start from the beginning. Now, the chapter starts off with page 1 and OT side of things, and we sort of see the aftermath of the Thunder Bagua from Yamato. Now, obviously, we knew that they weren't knocked out for the count because we know that zones have this extreme durability and insane recovery time, so we expected them to get back up naturally. But they definitely did take some damage, as page 1 mentioned that Luffy almost dislocated his jaw, which kind of reminds me of when Ace said that Blackbeard almost broke his neck. It's kind of in the same vein as that. But again, this all goes back to zones, and you know how durable they are. And people forget that Gear 3rd is actually very powerful. It has a lot of power, but the main issue usually comes from it's a lot slower than Gear 2nd, whereas the attacks are a lot harder to hit with. But again, since Kaido's crew composes mostly of zones who specialize in physical combat, so Gear 3rd is actually a very good matchup for these guys. So Gear 2nd is not something that we're going to see a lot, except for when Luffy needs mobility and speed, just like when he blitzed OT in the last chapter. And we also know that Luffy has learned the advanced level of armament, so his attacks in Gear 2nd is probably going to be a lot stronger now once he does implement Ryuo, or the advanced armament level of armaments, which we haven't seen yet because Luffy doesn't feel like he has to use that yet. But it is obviously something that we know Luffy is saving because we know that he has a lot more control of it now. Now, I wouldn't say that he's mastered the advanced level yet, but he's definitely a lot more proficient in the advanced level. Now, we also get to see OT here, and obviously she did take enough damage to actually pass out for a little bit, just kind of how Luffy passed out when he took Appu's attack in the previous chapters. But again, zones and their recovery, it wasn't too long before OT actually regained consciousness again, and she seemed to be fine overall. But this definitely shows that Yamato is pretty damn powerful in a physical type of way, whereas if she's able to do this to a zone user, and an ancient one at that, that means that Yamato is packing a lot of power. And we also don't know if she has a devil fruit or not. It's a possibility, but right now we don't really know. But again, the Thunder Bagua was from her base, so if she does have a Zoan, she is going to be pretty powerful. And again, I've said that Yamato is probably around flying 6, maybe borderline 3rd commander level, but as of right now, that's where I would personally place her within the ranks of Kaido's crew in terms of strength anyways, until we see more from her. And we also get that Yamato actually fights Luffy afterwards, whereas she's able to block Gear 3rd attacks without much effort. So Yamato is looking like a very promising ally, not only just in individual strength, but also the things that she knows information wise. So I think she's going to be very important moving forward, and also her relationship with Kaido could tie into more things within Kaido's character. And let's also talk about the biggest plot twist of the chapter, and that's Yamato being a girl, something that I think no one expected. And of course, this goes to the unpredictability of how Oda does things, just because there's so many elements in One Piece that you can tie together. So figuring out what is going to be tied to what is going to be a very hard thing to do. But there were a few hints here and there that a lot of us predicted, and I also talked about this in my Yamato is not Odin video. And here we learned that Yamato is actually influenced by Odin, like a lot of us thought, because of the similarities shown in their attires and with the cuffs, and also with the obi around her waist, and because she witnessed Odin's execution, and because of how Orochi and Kaido killed him in a, I guess, very underhanded way, she was angry because Odin was one of a kind, and that there's never been anyone like Odin ever since then. And ever since then, she always wanted to imitate Odin, even as far as taking on his name and fulfilling his goal of opening the borders of Wano. And she even mentions here that she actually told Kaido that she wanted to become Odin, in which Kaido then beat her up. And this gives more clarity to their relationship in some sense, where she's not on good terms, and this makes sense because it seems like she's always chained up, as we see with her cuffs. And obviously Odin is still someone who lives within Kaido's mind because of the things that transpired in the past, like Odin being the only person to ever scar Kaido, and also how Kaido won the fight in a very underhanded way. It's very obvious that Odin impacted Kaido in some way, shape, or form, and we're seeing that till this day, that Odin's will still lives on, not only just with the Kozuki, Momo, and the samurai, but also within Yamato, which could explain why Kaido has these weird comments about Momo, because maybe he expects more from Momo just because of the type of person his dad was. And of course Momo doesn't doesn't live up to that expectation. So I think Oda can do a lot here with Yamato and Kaido, and as far as their relationship goes. Now Yamato also mentions that she obtained Oden's journal in Korea not long after he was executed, and ever since then it's been her Bible. So she knows a lot about the adventures of Oden and a lot of things that are considered secrets of the world, right? And as well as Oden's ambition to open up the borders in order to fulfill the prophecy of Joibo's arrival. So she basically knows everything about what Oden saw and his experiences and possibly his journey to Raftel and maybe even the One Piece. We don't really know if that's in the journal, it depends, but she knows a lot. But I feel like Oda has to go more in depth as to how she was able to obtain the journal in the first place and how that came about, which I think we will get more in-depth context about that, maybe a mini flashback of sorts, and I could also see how that flashback could also tie into Ace as well. And here she also mentions that the reason why Luffy was very familiar was that he reminded her of Ace. And we can sort of make the assumption that she knows about Luffy because Ace told her about Luffy, maybe that we're not really sure of yet, but again, ever since we got the little tidbits of Ace earlier in this arc with Otama, it gave me the impression that a lot could come from this, not just from Otama, because we also know that Yamato and Ace actually fought together at some point when Ace came to Wano, because we know that Ace came to Wano before he joined the Whitebeard Pirates, so that could easily be the timeline of when this took place. But again, I think we need to get a little flashback here and there as to how it happened, and also from Yamato's perspective, as that would give more insight on things at that point in time. Again, Oda bringing the Ace narrative back again is very interesting, but I think we just need more gaps to be filled in terms of how all this happened, which I would be glad if we actually got separate chapters dedicated to that. Obviously not too long, but enough to give us more context. And when Ace is involved, it definitely gives, you know, more incentive for Luffy to act. We saw it with Otama, and I think we're going to see it here with Yamato as well. Now I do wonder if she knows Ace died. We don't necessarily know, but I think it makes sense that she does because she's affiliated with Kaido, and Kaido knows about things that happens outside of Wano. So I think it's very likely that she does know. Now we also get to see what's happening on Kaido's side of things, and they're pretty much ready to execute Momonosuke at this point, as well as an announcement that Kaido is about to make, which probably ties to his alliance with Big Mom, and as well as something to do with Yamato. And here we also get to see that the infiltration force of the alliance are in the banquet, but the main question is really how they are going to save Momo, because all three calamities are present, as well as the Yonko himself, as well as Kaido himself is there. So rescuing Momo is going to be very difficult, and I really like the tidbits we got with Robin and Jinbei here. The Robin scene was good, right? It was just that little moment that we had. But when it comes to Momo, again, I've said this before, I think Oda might be setting up a special moment for him right here, just because everyone's attention is on the execution platform right now. So I think if there's anything Momo is going to do, it has to be now. Whether he gets under Orochi's skin in some type of way by saying certain things, maybe in the same fashion as Yasu did back in the Flower Capital, I feel like he has to do something here to sort of progress his character in some sense. Now I know that he's not going to save himself, and he's going to be saved by someone else, maybe Luffy, Sanji, whoever it is, but I feel like Momo has to do something here. But we'll see what happens moving forward. We also got to see Law's side of things, and they finally arrived on Onigashima, as well as the encounter with Marco and the others, and of course the reunion between Izo and Okiko, which was great. It seems like we're getting closer and closer to the war. Now Marco also mentioned something interesting, and that is that he saw a strange shadow in the sea, which should be Perospero, but I'm hoping that Perospero actually makes it to the island and that Marco doesn't thwart the Big Mom Pirates anymore, because that would be a bit too much. The Big Mom Pirates have been taking so many L's in this arc, so I really don't want that to happen again, right? Perospero making his way into the island would be more interesting. But again, definitely a very interesting plot twist that we had in this chapter with Yamato, and I will say that these last couple of chapters have been very, very enjoyable. There is always something of note in each chapter, and of course the build up to Kaido's announcement is definitely on its way. But I am definitely looking forward to what's to come. Now we are on break next week, so the next chapter is in 2 weeks time, which sucks, but you know. But that is pretty much it for this video, guys. What do you guys think about the chapter? Comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. Follow me on Twitter at Ferrispace. But it is fair, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.